Lord, help us to be mindful today. Make these truths stick in our heart. And remember the suffering people even today. May they be alleviated. May they be comforted in your holy name. Speak, O Lord. Job 21. Then Job answered, "Listen carefully to my speech, and let this be your way of consolation. Bear with me that I may speak. Then after I have spoken, you may mock. As for me, is my complaint to man? And why should not I be impatient? Look upon me and be astonished, and put your hand over my mouth, even when I remember I am disturbed, and horror takes hold of my flesh. Why do the wicked still live, continue on, also become powerful? Their descendants are established with them in their sight, and their offspring before their eyes. Their houses are safe from fear, and the rod of God is not on them. His ox mates without fail, his cow calves and does not abort. They send forth their little ones like the flock. Their bull gendereth, and faileth not. Their cow calveth, and casteth not her calf." In the King James. They send forth their little ones like a flock, and their children dance. They take the timbrel and the harp, and rejoice at the sound of the organ. They spend their days in wealth. In the NASB, they sing to the timbrel and harp, and rejoice at the sound of the flute. They spend their days in prosperity. And suddenly they go down to Sheol. They say to God, "Depart from us. We do not even desire the knowledge of your ways. Who is the Almighty that we should serve him? And what would we gain if we entreat him? Behold, their prosperity is not in their hand. The counsel of the wicked is far from me. How often is the lamp of the wicked put out? Or does their calamity fall on them? Does God apportion destruction in his anger? Are they as straw before the wind, and like chaff which the storm carries away? You say God stores away a man's iniquity for his sons. Let God repay him, so that he may know it. Let his own eyes see his decay, and let him drink the wrath of the Almighty. For what does he care for his household after him, when the number of his months is cut off? Can anyone teach God knowledge, in that he judges those on high? One dies in his full strength, being wholly at ease and satisfied. His sides are filled out with fat. And another dieth in bitterness of his soul, and never eateth with pleasure. They shall lie down alike in the dust, and the worms shall cover them. Behold, I know your thoughts, and the devices which ye wrongfully imagine against me. For ye say, Where is the house of the prince, and where are the dwelling places of the wicked? Have ye not asked them that go by the way, and do ye not know their tokens? That the wicked is reserved to the day of destruction. They shall be brought forth to the day of wrath. Talking about the resurrection, I believe. For the day of calamity, they will be led forth at the day of fury. Who will confront him with his actions, and who will repay him for what he has done? While he is carried to the grave, men will keep watch over his tomb. The clods of the valley will gently cover him. Moreover, all men will follow after him. While countless ones go before him, how then will you vainly comfort me? For your answers remain full of falsehood. How then comfort ye me in vain, seeing in your answers there remaineth falsehood? Sometimes the King James just says it better. Now, Job 22. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, Can a man be profitable unto God, as he that is wise may be profitable unto himself? Can a man be profitable unto God, as he that is wise may be profitable unto himself? No. Is it any pleasure to the Almighty that thou art righteous? Or is it gain to him that thou makest thy ways perfect? Will he reprove thee for fear of thee? Will he enter with thee into judgment? Is not thy wickedness great, and thine iniquities infinite? For thou hast taken a pledge from thy brother for naught, and stripped the naked of their clothing. Thou hast not given water to the weary to drink. Thou hast withholden bread from the hungry. But as for the mighty man, he had the earth, and the honorable man dwelt in it. Thou hast sent widows away empty, and the arms of the fatherless have been broken. Therefore snares are round about thee, and sudden fear troubleth thee, or darkness that thou canst not see, and abundance of waters cover thee. It is not God in the height of heaven, and behold the height of the stars, how high they are. And thou sayest, How doth God know? Can he judge through the dark cloud? Thick clouds are covering to him that he seeth not, and he walketh in the circuit of heaven. Hast thou marked the old way which wicked men have troddeth, which were cut down out of time, whose foundation was overflown with a flood, which said unto God, Depart from us, and what can the Almighty do for them? Yet he filled their houses with good things, but the counsel of the wicked is far from me. Rupert. Rippy. Come and say hello to the camera. You doing alright? Poor Rupert had a seizure last night. But he's feeling okay at the moment, aren't you? Yeah. Okay, let's read this. The righteous see it and are glad, and the innocent laugh them to scorn. Whereas our substance is not cut down, but the remnant of them the fire consumeth. Acquaint now thyself with him, and be at peace. He's accusing him. Acquaint now thyself with him, and be at peace. Thereby good shall come unto thee. Receive, I pray thee, the law from his mouth, and lay up his words in thine heart. Although that is good advice. If thou return to the Almighty, thou shalt be built up. Thou shalt put away iniquity far from thy tabernacles. Then shalt thou lay up gold as dust, and the gold of Ophir as the stones of the brooks. Yea, the Almighty shall be thy defense, and thou shalt have plenty of silver. For then shalt thou have thy delight in the Almighty, and shalt lift up thy face unto God. Thou shalt make thy prayer unto him, and he shall hear thee, and thou shalt pay thy vows. Thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee, and the light shall shine upon thy ways. When men are cast down, then thou shalt say, There is lifting up, and he shall save the humble person. He shall deliver the island of the innocent, and it is delivered by the pureness of thine hands. But he doesn't know the backstory. He doesn't know the backstory, little fella. Hello, Rupee. Rupert's like, I'm gonna go glorify God over here. You keep doing that. Grippy. Want some water? Good boy. There's true things said mixed in with not knowing the backstory, and false things as well in these little diatribes. Let's see. Job 23. This counselor. What? So let's see. Well, I mean, just looking back, he's accusing Job of wickedness. He's saying God doesn't care. Let's see. Well, anyway, when technology fails, we have this other thing called a book. Okay. Then Job replied, "Even this day my complaint is rebellion. His hand is heavy despite my groaning." Job 23, Bible Gateway. Even today my complaint is bitter. His hand is heavy despite my groaning. Oh, that I knew where I might find him, that I might come to his seat. I would present my case before him and fill my mouth with arguments. I would learn the words which he would answer and perceive what he would say to me. Would he contend with me by the greatness of his power? No, surely he would pay attention to me. There the upright would reason with him, and I would be delivered forever from my judge. Behold, I go forward, but he is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive him. When he acts on the left, I cannot behold him. He turns to the right, I cannot see him, but he knows the way I take. When he has tried me, I shall come forth as gold. My foot has held fast to his path. I have kept his way and not turned aside. I have not departed from the command of his lips. I have treasured the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. But he is unique, and who can turn him? And what his soul desires that he does. For he performs what is appointed for me, and many such decrees are with him. Therefore I would be dismayed at his presence. When I consider, I am terrified of him. It is God who has made my heart faint, and the Almighty who has dismayed me. But I am not silenced by the darkness, nor deep gloom which covers me. Let's see, let's go back to the King James Version. Job 24. Why, seeing times are not hidden from the Almighty? Do they that know him not see his days? And this is Job still answering. Some remove the landmarks. They violently take away flocks and feed thereof. They drive away the ass of the fatherless. They take the widow's ox for a pledge. They turn the needy out of the way. The poor of the earth hide themselves together. Behold, as wild asses in the desert, go they forth to their work, rising betimes for a prey. The wilderness yieldeth food for them and for their children. Behold, as wild donkeys in the wilderness, they go forth seeking food in their activity, rising betimes for a prey. They go forth to their work. They go forth seeking food in their activity, as bread for their children in the desert. Rising bedtimes for a prey. Not in, it's a variant then. Yeah, the vintage of the wicked. They harvest their fodder in the field and glean the vineyards of the wicked. They spend the night naked without clothing. They cause the naked to lodge without clothing, that they have no covering in the cold. And that reminds me, I gotta look up real quick. If he cries to me, I will hear him. Okay. Doesn't like Bible Hub anymore. For that is his only covering. It is his raiment for his skin. Wherein shall he sleep? And it shall come to pass, when he crieth unto me, that I will hear him, for I am gracious. See, God even minds that he will hear the cries of somebody, even somebody cold in the night, because you've taken away their clothing. They cause the naked to lodge without clothing, that they have no covering in the cold, and God will hear their cries. They are wet with the showers of the mountains, and embrace the rock for want of a shelter. They pluck the fatherless from the breast, and take a pledge of the poor. They cause him to go naked without clothing, and they take away the sheaf from the hungry, which make oil within their walls, and tread their winepress, and suffer thirst. Men groan from out of the city, and the soul of the wounded crieth out. Yet God layeth not folly to them. They are of those that rebel against the light. They know not the ways thereof, nor abide in the paths thereof. The murderer rising with the light killeth the poor and needy, and in the night is as a thief. The eye also of the adulterer waiteth for the twilight, saying, No eye shall see me, and disguiseth his face. In the dark they dig through houses, which they had marked for themselves in the daytime. They know not the light, for the morning is to them even as the shadow of death. If one know them, they are in the terrors of the shadow of death. He is swift as the waters, their portion is cursed in the earth. He beholdeth not the way of the vineyards. See, they are insignificant on the surface of the water. Their portion is cursed on the earth. They do not turn toward the vineyards. They knoweth not the way of the vineyards. It means they don't work. Drought and heat consume the snow waters, so doth the graves those which have sinned. The womb shall forget him, the worm shall feed sweetly on him. He shall be no more remembered, and wickedness shall be broken as a tree. He evil entreateth the barren that beareth not, and doeth no good to the widow. He draweth also the mighty with his power. He risen up, and no man is sure of life. He riseth up, and no man is sure of life. Though it be given him to be in safety, whereupon he resteth, yet his eyes are upon their ways. They are exalted for a little while, but are gone and brought low. They are taken out of the way as all other, and cut off as the tops of the ears of corn. And if it be not so, who will make me a liar, and make my speech nothing worth? I'm going to reread it in the NSB. Drought and heat consumes the snow waters. So does Sheol those who have sinned. A mother will forget him. The worm feeds sweetly till he is no longer remembered, and wickedness will be broken like a tree. He wrongs the barren woman and does no good for the widow, but he drags off the valiant. By his power he rises, but there no one has assurance of life. Oh, that's what I was looking at. 22. He riseth up, and no man is sure of life. That made me think he's wicked, he rises up, and they worry about him. But NASB puts it, he rises, but no one has assurance of life. He provides them with security, and they are supported, and his eyes are on their ways. They are exalted a little while, then they are gone. Moreover, they are brought low, and like everything gathered up, even like the heads of grain, they are cut off. Now, if it is not so, who can prove me a liar and make my speech worthless? 25 is very, very short. Then Bildad the Shuhite answered and said, Dominion and fear are with him. He maketh peace in his high places. Is there any number of his armies? And upon whom doth not his light arise? And how then can men be justified with God? Or how can he be clean that is born of a woman? Behold, even to the moon, and it shineth not. Yea, the stars are not pure in his sight. How much less man that is a worm, and the Son of Man which is a worm. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with me today. I need to go for a hike back in the mountain. I haven't done that in a while. Now, Bildad was short to speak, but Job is going to be like, whoosh. Let's see. Then Job responded, What a help you are to the weak. How you have saved the arm without strength. What counsel you have given to one without wisdom. What helpful insight you have abundantly provided. To whom you have uttered words. To whom have you uttered words, and whose spirit was expressed through you? The departed spirits tremble under the waters and their inhabitants. Naked is Sheol before him, God. Naked is Sheol before him, and Abaddon has no covering. He stretches out the north over empty space and hangs the earth on nothing. Huh? It looks like it's hung on nothing. Pretty much, huh? Oh, here we go. No. Yep. Oh, that's the real picture. No. Yeah, he hangs the earth on nothing. Yeah. No one's watching anyway. Okay. He hangs the earth on nothing. And hangeth the earth upon nothing. He bindeth up the waters in his thick clouds, and the cloud is not rent under them. He holdeth back the face of his throne, and spreadeth his cloud upon it. He hath compassed the waters with bounds until the day and night come to an end. The pillars of heaven tremble and are amazed at his rebuke. He quieted the sea with his power. Remember Jesus. And Matthew. Where else? Matthew, Mark, and Luke record Jesus awoke, rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." He quieted the sea with his power, and by his understanding he shattered Rahab. By his breath the heavens are cleared. So MacArthur says Rahab seems to be widely used to describe various things that wreak havoc. Okay. Oh, okay. So the King James, well, the ESV has it, he divided the sea with his power, and by his understanding he smiteth the proud. I think the NSB is probably more accurate. He shattered Rahab. By his breath the heavens are cleared. His hand has pierced the fleeing serpent. Behold, these are the fringes of his ways. And how faint a word we hear out of him. But his mighty thunder, who can understand? These are, I like the way the NSB puts it, these are the fringes of his ways. But how little a portion is heard of him, but the thunder of his power, who can understand? Alright, I guess we can pause right there.